On most Monday nights, families are winding down. It's a routine evening. Dinner, maybe some homework or TV. But on December 22nd of 2025, in a small home in Highland City, Florida, that ordinary quiet was about to be destroyed. The trigger was something that happened in countless homes, an argument over what to watch on TV. But in this house, that simple disagreement was like a lit match thrown into a room filled with gasoline. Fueled by alcohol and rage, it ignited a massacre. This is the chilling story of the Kinney family's final moments. The desperate call for help made by a 12-year-old boy and the devastating warning signs that were missed. Before we get into details of this heartbreaking story, a quick reminder to subscribe to my channel. Your support helps continue to bringing important stories like this one to light. It was just 3 days before Christmas. The Kinney home was likely filled with that quiet holiday excitement. A Christmas tree stood in the room with presents wrapped and sitting underneath it. A picture of a happy, normal family. In his shed, a 42-year-old Jason Kinney was watching Monday Night Football and had been drinking all evening. Sometimes before 11 p.m., Jason came inside, wanting to watch the end of the game on the main TV. His wife, Crystal, suggested that they watch something else, and a simple disagreement started. But this wasn't just any argument. It was a snowball rolling downhill, gathering speed and size until it became an unstoppable avalanche. Their voices got louder, and the disagreement twisted into a heated fight. Sensing the situation was about to crash, Crystal yelled to her 12-year-old son to call 911. The boy did exactly as he was told. He fled the house, running to a neighbor for help. As he was running, he heard a sound that would change his life forever. A single deafening gunshot. He didn't stop. He made it to the neighbor's house, and the call was made. Deputies were dispatched immediately, arriving in less than 5 minutes. But in that short amount of time, an entire family's world had been brought down like a house of cards. When Polk County deputies walked into the home on Lemon Avenue, they were met with absolute devastation. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd later called the scene hugely sad, made even worse by how close it was to Christmas. In the living room, they found Crystal Kinney. She had been shot in the head and was pronounced dead at the scene. The Christmas tree and the presents beneath it stood like silent props from a happy family play, while a real-life horror show had unfolded around them. But as Sheriff Judd said in his press conference, it gets worse. In a bedroom, deputies found Crystal's 13-year-old daughter. She had been shot twice, once in the shoulder and once in the face. Jason Kinney had shot his stepdaughter, intending to kill her. Miraculously, she was still alive. The bullet that hit her face traveled as one in a million path, striking the bridge of her nose before exiting the top of her head. She was rushed to the hospital in critical but stable condition. Sheriff Judd would later call her survival a Christmas miracle. From her hospital bed, the incredibly brave 13-year-old told investigators what happened in those terrifying moments. She said she had begged her stepfather for her life. I begged him, "Don't shoot me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me." And he shot me anyway, she recounted. There was one other child in the house that night, Jason and Crystal's 1-year-old biological daughter. Deputies found her in a crib, physically unharmed and asleep through the whole nightmare. The 12-year-old boy who had so bravely ran for help was also physically safe. But in just a few minutes, 3 children had lost their mother and their lives were shattered. Jason Kinney didn't stick around for law enforcement. After shooting his wife and stepdaughter, he fled the scene in his truck, running from the fire he himself had set. While driving, he had made a phone call to his sister, who lived out of state in New York. He told her that he had done something very, very bad. and that it would be the last time they would ever talk. He said she would see it on the news and that he wasn't going to jail for the rest of his life. He drove to a property in the nearby town of Lake Wales, a house that had belonged to his late father. Deputies tracked him to the location and quickly set up a perimeter around a shed where he had barricaded himself. As they were preparing to try and get him to come out, they heard a single gunshot from inside. Rather than face justice, Jason Kinney chose to pull the plug on his own life. He was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In his press conference, an emotional Sheriff Judd didn't mince words. Quite frankly, I don't want to sound sinister, but the only thing he did right that night was shoot himself. After those horrible deeds, Judd said, he had destroyed his family, and in the end, took his own life rather than face what he had done. The details of this case were incredibly hard to take in, but it's vital to understand the patterns that can lead to a tragedy like this. Domestic violence is rarely a one-time incident. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous situation, help is out there. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-7233. Please don't wait for things to escalate. Reaching out could save a life. As investigators processed the crime scene, they found something that confirmed this tragedy didn't just come out of the blue. It was a note left for Jason by his wife. Crystal, it was like a message in a bottle, tossed in the chaotic sea of their marriage, a clear and desperate plea that tragically never reached shore. Sheriff Judd read from the note during his press conference. You're drinking. You're using cocaine again. This is not the way the family should be. You need God. That one piece of paper was a window into chaos inside the Kinney home. It showed that Jason's drinking was part of a larger, destructive pattern of substance abuse. Crystal knew things were deeply wrong. She knew her husband needed help, and she was trying to sound the alarm. This note is one of the most tragic parts of the story because it was a final warning siren that went unheard. Family members later told investigators that Jason had been abusive towards Crystal for a while, but no official domestic violence reports had ever been filed. The violence was happening behind closed doors, hidden from view. The argument over a football game wasn't the real cause. It was just a spark that ignited a powder keg. The truly explosive mixture was the anger, control, and substance abuse that had been brewing under the surface for years. It was a toxic cocktail, and that night, the glass was finally tipped over. 3 days before Christmas, a 12-year-old boy ran for his life to get help. His 13-year-old sister fought for hers and survived by what can only be called a miracle. And their mother, Crystal, lost her life because her husband's rage blew up over something as trivial as a football game. The story of the Kinney family is a devastating reminder that for some, the most dangerous place is their own home. It highlights how critical it is to recognize and act on warning signs. Crystal Kinney saw those signs. She wrote them down in a note, a final unheard plea for the man she loved to change. Jason Kinney's violent act was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, sending out devastating ripples that shattered his family. The surviving children are now in the care of relatives, facing a future without their mother. Their home, once decorated for a happy holiday, is now a memorial to a night of unimaginable loss. As Sheriff Grady Judd put it, he just absolutely destroyed a family. This case is a harrowing lesson on the destructive power of domestic violence and substance abuse and the urgent need for intervention before a simple argument can turn into a massacre.